Hello, everyone. My name is Kim. I'm the Children and Young Adult Consultant with the Connecticut State Library, and I'm here with Stephanie, not Youth and Family Learning, but Stephanie works in Youth and Family Learning at the Russell Library, who's going to tell us about a screen printing program that the Russell Library got as a part of a summer enrichment grant. This is actually our first CG Pages with someone who got a summer enrichment grant. We're hoping to get a few more of those up so folks get better ideas of how those grants have worked and what people can do for summer and take a page from another library's book. And Stephanie's my buddy, so I'm excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Give us everything, the whole dish. I want to hear all about it.
So before we get started on the specifics, I will say that one of the pieces of feedback that we got from the previous summer reading was there wasn't enough for teens, which was fair. There was not. We were kind of transitioning between librarians who did teen service related things, and we just didn't really have a grasp on how to program for teens. And we were also coming out of pandemic a little bit. So we were in a really weird spot. And so summer of 2022, we had a lack of teen programming. And so we said, okay, we hear you. We hear your feedback. We're going to bring some programming back for teens. So my previous supervisor, Jennifer Billingsley, who many of you probably know, Jen came to me and said, what do you think about doing a screen printing workshop? And I said, sounds cool. Pretty much. I said, I would love to do teen programming. And if we can use money for that from a grant, cool. So Jen applied for the grant through the Connecticut State Library. We got the grant money. And the grant was written in order to bring teen programming that connected with our summer reading theme for 2023, which was Find Your Voice. And the way we interpreted that at Russell was mostly finding your artistic voice. It wasn't across the board, but that was kind of the way we interpreted it because it was a really broad theme. Some libraries decided to use it like activism, and some libraries, they took it in a lot of different ways. And we figured the easiest thing for us to do was to just focus on one piece of it. So we said, use your artistic voice and kind of whatever that means to you. And so Jen took that and said, okay, use your artistic voice, teenagers, community partnerships, and crafted this grant around involving community partners to come into the library and use our space and do programs with us. So we partnered with the Solnit Center, which is, they have a campus here in Middletown, which is a mental health facility for teens. And so we partnered with them so that they could send students to us with adults from their facility to work in tandem. And we also reached out to the Youth Services Bureau in case they had any young people that they wanted to send. And then we also partnered with Cinder Salt, which is a local business here in Middletown, Rachel at Cinder Salt. And part of this was we want to use a local artisan so that we can keep it local, keep it in Middletown, and then use Rachel's skill and services to provide workshops. So the workshops broke down into two different types. So we had two basics workshops, which was just like, come in, learn what screen printing is, and learn kind of just how to design for it. So we had this basics workshop, and we had young people ages 12 and up, and also we had some college students and some adults. So it was geared towards young people ages 12 and up and adults in their life. And the way I kind of interpreted that was, bring your neighbor, bring your kooky aunt, bring your mom, but like really bring someone you like spending time with. I didn't want kids to come and be like, well, I dragged my grandma, but I don't really want to be here. So I rephrased it as bring someone you like spending time with. That could be a friend, or it could be a family member that you think would be interested in this, which ended up being really cool. So we opened it up, ages 12 and up. We did get a couple of Wesleyan students as well, which was nice. Because that's another area we find challenging to program for, because they kind of fall on the line between teen and adult. And so we got some Wesleyan students, and then we got some Solnit staff members who came to actually try it before they brought their students. So we had a couple of staff members there who came to the workshop and were like, oh, we want to test to see if this is good for our kids, and we'll bring our kids back, which was cool. I did not anticipate that. We just figured they would come anyways, but it was cool that they came and they tested it out just to make sure it was going to be okay. And so we got some siblings, we got like really interesting mixes of people. And so that first session was just what is screen printing? Come meet Rachel's team, and just like design something. So a lot of that was just, what is this? How do we do it? And then we invited people to come back for the next 2 sessions, which you only had to come to 1, but the next sessions, which were the design and process workshops. So people came in and they either held on to their designs from the original workshop, or we held on to them. And then they actually got to experience the process of what screen printing looks like when it's getting done. So Rachel and her crew brought all of this equipment. We set it up here at Russell in the activity room, and everybody got a chance to actually see what it looks like to take a design, print it, and see the finished product, which was very cool. And then people also wanted to continue designing. Like it actually became kind of a workshop on that one, because the young people that came were just so excited to do art, which was nice to see. Because in addition to, you don't have a lot of programs for teens, we also heard, we like art. And I said, okay, I can give you both. So that's kind of what went down. And then we also ran a contest as part of the design workshop, and as part of the grant funding, is that we worked it out with Rachel that her business would provide a item of up to a certain amount of money for the winner to select with their own design. So we had young people design what they thought would fit the theme of Find Your Voice. Didn't have to, but those were the parameters for the actual contest rules were fit the theme. And so we had a lot of submissions. We had maybe 20 submissions. Some young people, they submitted more than one. So they, upped their chances, but they submitted them. And then on our teen Instagram page at Russell, I posted them all and had people vote. And people voted, and the winning design got to have their design printed on something at Cinder Salt. Cool. And it ended up being a teen. So that was one of the other things from the contest. We were like very strict about only 12 to 19 can participate in the contest piece. Could be older to do the workshop, but we wanted to keep it with teens because we wanted the winner to be a teen. So I believe the winner was 18. So fit right in the box. And it was really fun to see teens in the library. Obviously, that's a huge thing that I like to see. But it was also fun to see people doing art at all different levels and kind of just having fun with it. Because there were some people who came in and definitely had like a skill set that is higher than probably the average. And then there were people that came in and you could tell they never really drew a day in their life. And it was just this beautiful melding of all different types of skill levels and all different dynamics of people kind of helping each other out. So when the Solnit groups came in, they had staff members with them. And I was also in the room too. And they were so engaged with wanting to like take a book from the library collection and draw from the book. So I was going and pulling things off the shelves. I was like, oh, we're doing like reader's advisory right now. So it turned into, hey, I want to draw this thing. Can you get me a model of this thing? And I was like, sure. You want a book about foxes? You want a book about flowers? We were just pulling things off the shelf, which was really interesting because the other sessions that we did were not like that at all. People were very much just like, I'm good. I kind of have an idea. I'm sketching it out. I have my phone, like more like independent work. So we got these really cool groupings of all different types and levels of skill, which was very cool to see. And as I had said to Kim in the report when I wrote this up, one of the coolest things to see about this program was what programming can look like and be successful. And that's something that we talk about here a lot and in library land is what does a successful program look like? What is that metric? And for some people, it's numbers, which I can understand. But for me, it's more the anecdotal evidence of, are people engaging? Are people having a good time? Are people planning to come back because they had an experience that was enjoyable to them? And are people making connections? And we saw all of those things in this programming. Our numbers were decent for this type of programming, but it wasn't about numbers for me. It was about the fact that people were enthusiastic about the project. People came back for part 2 after they'd come to part 1. And that people gave feedback that they had a good time and that they would come back. And to me, that's a successful program. And as somebody who works in the youth and family learning department, which is the children's department, just fancy way of saying children's department. I mean, I had 40 people at story time today, which again, a successful program, but the metric is just very different depending on the type of audience and depending on the type of programming. And so 12 young people and their adults doing art and 40 young people and their adults like singing and dancing and listening to books, both success. And so that was the coolest part about this project, was just like, what does programming look like and what does success look like within programming? So that was my biggest takeaway, at least. What else do you want to know, Kim?
I didn't even know, but I love that, and I like that. That's kind of how you wrapped everything up. Also having done youth services, like the little guys, and teen services, and kind of everything in between, it really can be hard when you're, kind of programming for both ends of that spectrum, to not compare the, 40 kids who come to Baby Bebop with the 11 kids who come to, like snap circuits or whatever it is, or like 3D printing or something like that. And on paper, it can look like one program was more successful than the other. But you mentioned a bunch of things, like the fact that there were people who attended the first program, sort of the design aspect, and then the second one, we see retention is hard. And even within the summer enrichment grant, we've had people who wanted to set up like a multi programmed kind of thing, right? Like the entire thing is broken up into 2 or 3 parts, and struggle to get people to come to all of them. But the fact that you were able to have some retention from part 1 to part 2, so sort of from information and design to completion, in and of itself is successful, regardless of how many people came. So
that was huge.
I think that's super awesome. I do have one question. So you said, oh my gosh, if I could just bottle up the fact that you gathered information from teens in 2022 and then purposefully and directly responded to that information. And if what I remember, I'm reading so many reports, but if from what I remember from the report is correct, they were really appreciative of the fact that they were heard and then responded to. So how did you find out last year? Was it through like surveys or like conversation through teens that kind of like chill in the department? But how did you find out that they were like, hey, we're here too, we love the toddlers, but there's us also? Like, where did that come up?
Both. So one, through the summer survey, so feedback from families who had teens and younger patrons, and then actual like in-person conversations with parents of teens who are like, what do you have for us? So it's been both.
Yeah, I love that. And because I don't know anything about screen printing. I'm gonna be really honest with you. I have a shirt from Cinder Salt, and it's one of my favorite things. But I imagine in theory, this is something that maybe you could have done on your own, but the intent was to sort of partner with another local organization through Cinder Salt. But then you also partnered with another organization when you reached out to because it's kind of a school, right? Like a residential facility where the group of kids were. So you chose to reach out to two groups like that. Is that something that you guys do often, partnering with other organizations, sort of beyond the traditional K-12 public schools that are in your community? And do you think that made a difference for this program?
I think so. And so that again is hugely because of Jen Billingsley. Jen is great with community partnerships and always has been. And when I came here, I learned a lot of that from them. Same with Ayanna McKinnon. The two of them were really huge in teaching me how to do community partnerships, and also like allowing me to join those partnerships so that when they exited here, I still had that connection. Community partnership is a huge piece of this department, specifically this library, but I know specifically the Youth and Family Learning Department. We love partnering with community organizations, and partnering with the schools has been really challenging since COVID. So I find that it's been easier to partner with community organizations. And also it gets people in the building who might not be coming in the building otherwise. So we get school age kids, we get families, not all of them, but we get families who already know we exist. But partnering with organizations, with folks like Solnit that maybe don't even know we're here or that we have resources, and then downtown businesses that probably know we're here, but maybe don't utilize the library. And maybe our library patrons don't know that Cinder and Salt exists. So it was kind of a collaborative effort to just champion Middletown community partners. And I love partnering with community organizations because it's so easy to just like hop on a Zoom call or meet at Perk on Main to have a meeting. It's really cool to just have partners that know who we are or have had established relationships with us in the past. And sometimes we'll have partners reach out and be like, hey, I worked with so-and-so in the past, like, what's up? Or I'll reach out and be like, hey, I know you've worked with us in the past, like, what can we do? It's kind of a case-by-case basis. And Solnit has told us that they'd like to continue to attend our events in the future. So I would definitely partner with them again. But there's so many organizations in Middletown that I can't possibly partner with all of them. So it's kind of like, right, who do I want to partner with now? I have the option to continue the same partnerships and also to reach out to other newer ones. So I can kind of do a little bit of both. Yeah. So, it's really, we are in such a downtown location that it makes sense to be partnering with downtown organizations, which is a tricky thing about the school systems is that they're not really downtown located. So that's been a struggle for us. So if we can partner with organizations that are like visible to us and visible to patrons, then all the better.
Yeah. I love that. I don't know. I think it's a great program. And again, it's in a time, as you mentioned, just sort of some of the issues that have come up with post-COVID, like within the school systems, but sort of in a time where all youths, but there's something to me about teens who are often kind of forgotten about in the best of times. And then let alone you kind of put us in this weird post quarantine, still sometimes you quarantine yourself depending on what's going on, to provide a space and activities specifically for them. And I just sort of bouncing back really quick, I love that Wesleyan students showed up because as someone who was an RA when I was in college, and the amount of 18 and 19-year-olds that didn't know how to do laundry, they belong there. They belong right on next to the 16 and 17-year-olds, regardless of the fact that they could like vote. So, and that could be the beginning of, kind of getting a few more of those like younger, I was 17 when I started college. So 17, 18, 19-year-olds, right? Late birthday. Is that? Yep. So providing a space for them, not only because, maybe it's developmentally appropriate, but there might be something comforting about going to a public library, especially if, Connecticut isn't their home state. So I love how that happened. Do you know how they found these? Was it like Instagram?
So I suspect that, so our newsletter goes out and Wesleyan students, some of them have it if they have a library card here. And so previously, we're changing this now because of state statistics, but you can put 2 age groups on a program in LibCal, which is our scheduling system. And so for those programs, it said 12 to 18 and 19 and up. And I think anybody who was like, oh, I'm 19 and up, maybe this will be fun. And I did describe it as like ages 12 and up and adults. Like I was very explicit, like, please come to this, even if you are not 12, but you have to at least be 12 to come to this, because I wanted people to feel comfortable bringing those like trusted adults in their life. But it just worked out that people at Wesleyan saw that this was also for the age group they fit into and showed up.
I love that. And talk about marketing and outreach and partnerships. This one program seems to really have hit it all. And I mean, did you find the reporting process difficult? There are a lot of people I know who won't apply for grants because of the reporting, and kind of keeping up with the receipts can kind of feel like too much of a hassle. So just from your perspective, as someone who's still relatively new in libraries, because you came to libraries from schools, if I remember correctly, did you find that like a manageable process for the output that you got? Yeah,
I did. Only because I ran the programming. If I had not been on site during the facilitation, I would have found it very challenging to write the report. And when it came time to think about, is this grant something that I'm fully capable of? I had a conversation with a couple of people about, I was like, I've never executed a grant before. This is very new to me. And I also didn't apply for this grant. So I was like, okay, these parameters were set by someone else. do I feel comfortable like doing this big report? Because I know it's a big deal. So I sat down and I talked it through and I said, okay, let me read through it, make sure I have a full grasp of it. And I said, I didn't design it, but I'm fully capable of executing it. And I was like, okay, if I do all of the prep and all of the marketing and I'm on site, there's no reason I cannot write this information up. It would be silly for someone else to do it because I was the one who was there. So I found it a little daunting at first, only because it was my first grant report.
Yeah.
And it actually ended up being my second grant report by the time the grant reporting came, because I also did the grant report for the grant that we did for our D&D.
Ah,
so
so
we got a
look
grant.
at that.
So it was actually my second grant report by the time you got it.
Yeah.
So I was
yeah.
feeling like pretty good. And the money was very straightforward for this. The funding was very straightforward. The receipts were very straightforward. There weren't like little bits and bobs here and there. It was very much like
Really just no
a
tax.
presenter got paid. Yeah. A presenter got paid. And like that was really it. And I also knew that like some people are really daunted by, oh, you have to provide the flyers and the pictures. And I'm like, I designed the flyers. I took the pictures. I have it all. So I can see how that's daunting to someone else who's not like the boots on the ground person. But I was like, oh, I just have to write about it. That's like writing reports and stuff in this format is very familiar to me from being in a school system. And so some people find that very daunting, but I was like, oh, I just have to write about what I did and reflect on it. Okay. Like that's a skill that you have to do if you are in a school system. You have to be able to do the work and reflect on the work. And so I found it very, it kind of my skill set slipped right in.
I love that. Well, and that's good because I mean, you're right. You didn't apply for this. You didn't write the initial application. You didn't design the program, and then it's kind of like dropped in your lap. And I remember too, when Jen left and, it was like, okay, well, who's gonna do this thing? And I kind of felt bad. And I was like, if there's anything you need, or if there's any help, because it can be difficult to be dropped into the middle of a program. And especially at the time this was your first grant, I loved it. By the time it was over, it wasn't. Something about that's very pleasant to me. But by the time it all rolled around, right, like it just became more and more comfortable. Do you think you were more comfortable writing and sort of going through the D&D grant process, which I want to hear about it another time, because you were kind of already in the middle of something, like with some of the mystery kind of gone, or you just seem also kind of like the person where you'll just jump in and do some stuff, which I love.
Yes. I'm really good at just being like, okay, I guess I'll do this thing. But the D&D grant was much more involved, and it had a lot more moving pieces, and it had a lot more people. Also, I didn't write that one either. So what happens is people who have a higher pay grade than I do write the grants, and then I execute them. The D&D one was just a little bit more complex because we had two sources of funding. So we had the grant for that, and we also had leftover money from the violence prevention grant, which was before I even got here. And so I felt like I was navigating waters that were never really explained to me, and just doing the best that I could. But again, that was another thing where the D&D thing, like I was boots on the ground. I was like in the facilitation, but there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes that it was like above me that I had to be like, hey, I can fill out A, B, and C, but you need to fill out D and E because I have no idea where that information comes from.
Yeah.
But like I said, the narrative piece is like very, not easy, but like very comfortable for me to just be like, here's the thing that happened. Here is how it went. And here is me reflecting. That piece I have on lock. It's all the financial stuff and actually like writing the grant funding that I don't want anything to do with. I'll write the report all you want. I will I'll do the program. I'll write the report. You get the money.
Right. Oh my gosh, I completely get it. We've got some folks in our office who handle all that. And I'm like, better you than me. Like, I wouldn't have made it off probation. Good luck. Have fun. But that's great. I mean, it sounds like a great program. I'm always kind of keeping my ear to the ground because so many great people work at Russell, just kind of and watching. I follow a lot of IGs and things like that, kind of seeing what's going on. And this sounds like a really great multi-part program. You involved social media in there. You had partnerships in there. You responded to teens. Somehow got Wesleyan involved a little bit. What else do you do for a summer reading program, right?
Yeah.
Like, there you
Yeah.
go.
And we had the most teens actually involved in the summer reading program than we've had in recent years. So, I mean, we had
Love it.
6, which was better than the 1 we had the year before. I was like, anyone more than 1 is improvement.
I love it. I'm bad at math. 5 times more. Is that right? I don't know.
6, no, 6 times more.
More, six times more. Yeah. What growth? What
And
growth
like I
is
said,
that?
if you go by the numbers, 6 doesn't sound great, but 6 compared to 1 is huge growth.
Exactly. Magnanimous.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for talking to
You're
us,
welcome.
Stephanie, and
Thanks for having
sharing
me.
your story with other people.
Sure thing, anytime.
Awesome. Thanks.